Would you pause a multi-million-dollar demolition because a 5-year-old asked to pay later? I did, and the fallout nearly chewed me up and spat me out on a sidewalk. I used to pretend I couldn't see. If it were you, what would you have done? I wasn't supposed to be in that corner market on North Hanson that morning. I was supposed to be 30 floors up in glass and steel, nodding at a screen that told me where money wanted to go. Instead, I was standing under a rattling heater that sounded like an old drum staring at a rack of cereal when a little voice behind me cut through the noise. "Excuse me, ma'am, can I pay later? My baby brother is sick." I turned because everyone turned, and there she was, a tiny girl in a red hoodie, 2 sizes too big, braids she'd done herself, clutching a carton of milk like it was the last safe thing left in her world. The cashier, Mrs. Ortiz, had kind eyes and a rule book she couldn't ignore. "I can't do that, honey, I'm sorry." Something in me stepped forward before the rest of me caught up. "I'll cover it," I heard myself say. "You don't have to," the girl whispered like she was protecting me from my own kindness. "I can come back." I crouched down so we were eye to eye. "Sometimes we borrow a little help and pay it forward," I told her, and I meant it in a way that made my chest hurt. "Okay," she said, "I'll help someone when I can." Her name was Lulu Carter, and I told her mine was Evan. The scanner beeped, the milk slid into a bag, the heater coughed again, and people pretended not to listen while listening hard. Lulu hugged the milk to her chest and took a step back like somebody leaving a church, solemn, careful. "Hey," I called out, trying to sound casual, trying not to sound like one of those men with solutions in their pockets. "Your mom home. Does she need anything else?" Lulu's eyes flicked to the window where a bus roared past. "She's sick. My brother, too. We're okay." Mrs. Ortiz's voice dropped low the way neighbors do when they are telling you a truth and a secret at the same time. They're in Maple Court on Hanson Street brick building with the busted intercom, and she gave me a tiny shrug that said, "I know who you are, but I'm not calling anyone. Folks mind their own around here." Lulu looked up at me, serious as a judge. "Thank you," she said. "I'll pay it forward, promise." Then she ran into the gray morning shoes, slapping wet pavement hoodie strings flying like red flags. I stood there with my own groceries going soft in a paper bag, and a memory uncoiling inside my ribs. Not the pretty kind. The motel with the flickering sign, a mother named Jo who could stretch peanut butter like she was performing a magic trick, and a boy counting quarters at a vending machine and promising God, or maybe just the ceiling, that if he ever made it, no kid would do what he was doing. You know what I mean. That promise had been buried under meetings and flights and rooms with too much glass. The milk pulled it out like a file I'd lost behind a drawer. My phone buzzed. Nadia from Legal Dubai, call in 15. Then Cole, my development VP. Maple Court demo crew wants a date. City cleared. I stared at those words until they went blurry, then sharp again. Maple Court. The busted intercom. The gallon of milk. My project, my timeline, my guys in orange helmets. "Are you still there, kid?" I asked the part of me I'd gone quiet on. Then I typed one word back to Cole. "Hold," and called him. No demolition, not yet. He started into approvals and investors and the calendar, and I let him talk until he ran out of runway. "Hold," I repeated, and hung up before I could talk myself back into the old math. 10 minutes later, I was on Hanson Street, breathing the bleach and rain smell of a stairwell that had seen too many winters. I pushed the loose intercom button until it crackled to life. "Who?" "Evan from the store." The lock buzzed. 4th floor. Lulu opened the door with both hands like a little soldier guarding a castle. "You came." "I brought soup," I lied, showing a bag full of crackers and fruit, and a thermometer, And the orange pediatric syrup kids tolerate better. My mom is resting, Lulu said. She gets dizzy. A voice floated from the couch, soft and thin. Lulu, who is it? Inside, the light was pale and shy about visiting corners. On the couch, Tanya Carter, mid-30s, hair and a scarf, face the color of exhausted snow, a toddler sleeping on her chest, cheeks too hot, socks that didn't match. "Ma'am," I said, quiet without meaning to. "I'm the one who helped with the milk." "We don't do handouts," she told me, not angry, not weak. Just a line she'd had to say too many times. "I get it. This isn't a handout. It's a neighbor thing." Lulu tugged my sleeve. "You said pay it forward. We can clean stairs." I smiled even though my throat felt tight. "One day you'll help somebody who needs bus fare, and I'll be the one who owes you." Tanya studied my face. "What do you want, Mr.?" I didn't plan to say it, but it came anyway. "I want to make sure nobody touches this building until your boy is better." Her eyes sharpened. "Touches. There's a plan to redevelop Maple Court. I can slow them down. A company plan." "Which company?" "Mine." Silence spread over the room like a spill you can't stop. "You're the boss of the people with the orange helmets," Lulu said. I nodded once. Tanya set her jaw. "So you came to look at what you're about to take?" "No. I came because your daughter stood taller than most men I know in suits, because she asked for exactly what she needed, and nothing more, because I remembered a boy who swore he'd grow up and fix doors like that swollen frame, and I forgot for too long." "People promise all the time," Tanya said. "Then they vanish. You're not wrong. Words are light until you nail them to action. Here's today. I call a doctor I trust, house call no bill. I fix the intercom by nightfall. I put demolition on hold and you sit in the room when relocation gets discussed, not as a favor, as a requirement. We find something better together. No tricks, no fine print." Lulu stepped closer, hope and suspicion fighting for space in her eyes. "Can Benji have the orange medicine?" The nurse said orange tastes less yucky. "Orange it is." Tanya exhaled like a weight slid off one shoulder and onto the other. "Why us?" "Because one small promise can move a river, and I need mine to start flowing the right way." She closed her eyes, opened them, gave me the smallest nod that still meant yes. "All right, Mr. Price. Let's see if you keep your word." By evening, Dr. Lin had come and gone, antibiotics on the counter. A plan on the fridge, the intercom chimed like a new bell. And when I came back, Lulu was on the stoop in a clean hoodie drawing with a stubby crayon. "You came back." "I said I would." She handed me a paper with a milk carton and a smiling son. "For you. Mom says thank you." I looked at that drawing longer than I should have. "I should be thanking you," I told her. "You reminded me people matter more than buildings." She grinned, leaned into me for exactly 1 second, then sprinted upstairs like happiness had a curfew. 2 days later, I stood over blueprints under a row of faces that had never once had to jiggle a broken intercom. "We're not tearing Maple Court down. Not yet." Cole pinched the bridge of his nose. "Sir, the block is a loss. Investors are circling. We don't serve anyone by waiting. Tell them to wait a little longer. We are going to do this right." "What's right?" a manager asked, like he'd found an unfamiliar word in his own mouth. "Housing that keeps kids from asking to pay later in a grocery line. Mixed income, fair leases on site, daycare, and a clinic. I know what it costs. We'll find a way." The room hummed with numbers and doubt. I didn't have a spreadsheet answer, and I didn't pretend to. I just planted the flag and told them to build around it. That week I was on Hanson every day. I learned the stair that squeaked on 3, the crack in the sidewalk that caught wheels, how to hold a coughing toddler, so his ribs could rest. I did long division with Lulu at the kitchen table while Tanya watched me over the rim of a chipped cup. "Do you have kids?" Lulu asked, chewing her pencil like a thinking stick. "No." I kept telling myself I'd wait until I wasn't too busy, and then I never stopped being busy. "You can practice with us," she said. "We'll let you know if you're good." My jacket came off by question 3. By question 4, the apartment didn't feel like charity. It felt like a place I wanted to be. Word spreads. Some neighbors looked at me like I'd smuggled a bulldozer in my coat. Others nodded like they'd decided to wait and see. A man in a leather jacket told me my company froze his aunt's rent during a renovation across town. I said I'd look. He laughed. A woman with a stroller told me it took 4 months to fix a window and 4 minutes to do the work once someone showed up. The walls in Maple Court carried those voices the way old walls do, honest, unfiltered. Pushback in the office was cleaner, colder. The CFO slid a spreadsheet across the table like a polite warning. Divert X to on-site services, lose Y, cap rents at Z, anger A, B, and C. Investors won't clap for a conscience. Run scenarios that keep daycare and clinic. He raised his eyebrows like I'd just started speaking French. "We can't soft money this forever. We need a partner, then find one, or we'll be one." And then there was Gerard Danton. He owned a slice of Hanson so ugly, it made money by accident. He showed up at the community meeting in a suit that said, "Power is a hobby." "Mr. Price," he smiled into the mic. "This sudden tenderness for Maple Court is moving truly. But the city has rules. You can't pause progress because a girl needed milk." The crowd rumbled. "Progress isn't pushing families onto buses," I said. He flashed teeth. "Your brand is philanthropy, mine is reality. Someone pays. If not your investors, then the city, then taxpayers. Your plan slows the return on a blighted block, and blight breeds crime." Patricia Hale. A columnist who's roasted me 3 times stood and asked if crime is caused by drywall or by the way people get treated like luggage. The room laughed, the good kind of laugh. Danton adjusted his tie. "I believe in numbers." "Good," I said, "me too." Last winter, Maple Court had 14 days without heat, 46 open maintenance tickets, and intercom dead for months. Only thing that worked was rent due on the 1st. The city rep coughed. "We'll be auditing those tickets." "Of course," Danton said. He looked at me like men look at each other before they start a slow war. Pattern interrupt. A week later at 2 in the morning, my phone lit up with Lulu's name. "Mr. Evan, the building is raining," she said, trying not to cry. "Mama can't walk because the floor is like a pool and Benji is cold." I was out the door in boots and a t-shirt, hair a mess. At Maple Court, a pipe had blown and turned the stairwell into a brown waterfall. I waded in, scooped Benji against my chest, moved them to the laundromat, where the owner propped the door, and the heat hugged us like a blanket. I smelled the water, and it didn't smell like old pipes. It smelled like fresh-cut metal. That detail stuck strange and sharp. Stick around because what happened next will blow your mind. The next morning, I found the shutoff valve had been wrenched, not failed. Our site cameras caught 2 silhouettes in hard hats at 1:47 a.m. No work order, no city truck in sight. One of them wore a vest stamped with the logo of a subcontractor I had never hired. When I pushed, coal turned gray. The demo outfit, eager to get us off the block, had pulled in a crew through a backdoor handshake. The twist landed like a slap. This wasn't a disaster, it was sabotage. I tracked the foreman to a diner on 8th. He tried to talk about misunderstandings. I played the grainy clip on my phone. "You opened a valve to flood out families," I said, voice low, not theatrical, just tired. He stared at his coffee like it had answers. Who leaned on you? He said the name I already knew. Danton. Do you think that's fair? That a man can profit by making a building fail on purpose? That we call that progress if the paperwork is tidy? I fired the demo outfit, filed an injunction, delivered the footage to the city, and called a press conference I didn't want. The story wasn't convenient for anyone. Not the city, not the investors, not me. It was true anyway. Patricia ran the column hard. Danton called it a smear. The mayor called for an investigation. And for a minute there, I looked like a man with a grudge instead of a plan. Yeah, that happened. We kept building. Maple Court became Maple Commons, not luxury, not charity, something stubborn in the middle. We cut ribbon under a sky that looked like it might finally give us a soft day. Balloons for the kids because kids remember balloons, a cheap red ribbon, because sometimes you have to mark the moment by hand. Lulu stood beside me in a dress with tiny yellow flowers. Benji sat on my hip like he'd been born there. Tanya had color in her cheeks that wasn't just makeup. A reporter asked why the turn. Because one small kindness knocked a bigger one loose. Because my math changed. Because I remembered the vending machine kid. He wrote affordable project opens to mixed reviews. That was true too. On the side of Building A, a mural of a girl with a milk carton under a rising sun. A man crouched in front of her, hand out. That's us, Lulu said, tugging my sleeve. Yes. That's where it started. Tanya slipped her hand into mine. You didn't just save our home. You gave us one. Let's keep building, I told her, and for once I meant something bigger than concrete. Neat ending. You want one I could stop here, but neat isn't honest. A week later, a woman I didn't know cornered me outside the bodega. This is step one in the long con, she said, not yelling, just tired. First the pretty paint, then the coffee goes up, then the rents, then the families disappear one by one. I told her about deed restrictions and the land trust and caps on increases. She nodded like she'd heard it all before. We'll see. We always do. Her words crawled under my ribs and sat there. She was right to worry. Maple Commons is a good thing, and it is not enough. That's the part people don't like to hear. It doesn't fit in a ribbon cut. Some investors walked, some threatened. One sent me a note that said, "Morality is a luxury," and we had exceeded the budget. I stared at that line longer than I should have. Maybe morality is a cost that pays out in a currency you can't spend yet. I told them we would take a hit now, and we would gain something you can't buy with naming rights. Trust. The thing you only notice when it's gone. Late spring, Hanson Street smelled like hot concrete and somebody grilling on a fire escape. I sat on the steps with Lulu. She built a tower in the little playroom off the lobby, taller than yesterday, steadier too. I think I'm getting good at this, she said. Me too. Good at what? Keeping promises. She nodded like I'd finally passed a test even I didn't know I was taking. A guy walked by and muttered something I couldn't quite catch. Could have been thank you, could have been rich guy, hard to tell. Another yelled, don't stop after the cameras leave. I lifted a hand to show I heard him, because he was right. Tanya brought cocoa even though it was June. I burned my tongue and pretended I didn't. You know what I mean. 2 months after we opened Lulu, and I ended up back in that same market. The doors still breathed fog. The heater had finally been replaced. A teenage kid in a Letterman jacket reached the register and realized he was short by $1. He started to put back a sandwich he'd already unwrapped. Lulu tugged my sleeve. It's our turn. Pay it forward. I slid a bill across, stepped back so the kid wouldn't have to look me in the eye. He did anyway. Thanks, he muttered, pride wrapped around the word like barbed wire. He left. Lulu grinned like she'd moved a mountain with a quarter. Maybe she had. So now it's your turn. Was I right to stall a demolition because a 5-year-old asked to pay later? Is that justice or optics? Should people like me have any say in what stays and what gets rebuilt? Or is that power itself the problem? Do you think sabotaging a building to push out families should be treated like a crime or like business as usual? If it were you, would you fight the numbers or accept the way things are because it's cleaner on paper? I'll tell you this. I was the coin-counting kid once, the one everybody underestimated, and then I became the man people accused of not feeling anything. The truth is, I just learned to ask for nothing, so nobody could refuse me. You can build an empire on that, but it cracks right under joy. Hansen reminded me what the good kind of weight feels like. Drop your take in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me the time your city did the right thing, or the time it burned. You tell me about the moment you were misjudged and what you did with it. Hit like if this hit you. Share it with the friend who argues about neighborhoods and numbers, and subscribe if you want more stories. Told plain, no speeches, just heart and the mess that comes with it. I'll be down there reading, keeping my promise where you can see it.